Right now at 6, a high-stakes summit ends without a clear outcome.
There's no deal until there's a deal.
This as a woman on the front lines in Ukraine shares the reality of life under fire.
We cannot allow Russia just to give a carte blanche to regroup, to become stronger.
Plus, the president pivots as the White House looks to partner with Intel.
Anything that helps Intel reach its goals of onshoring, reshoring manufacturing, of growing manufacturing around the country is good for our region.
And later, say goodbye to free parking after 7.
A move like this feels to me like one of the final nails in the coffin.
How downtown businesses are pushing back.
Good evening, everyone. No deal on Ukraine. That is the headline out of a summit between President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin on American soil. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Christine Pittawanich. The meeting started today with a photo op and ended 3 hours later without any real indication of what the two world leaders discussed. In the press conference that followed, Putin spoke first, thanking President Trump and speaking vaguely on the war in Ukraine and his country's interests in the path toward peace. President Trump saying there was some, quote, great progress and that they had reached a, quote, understanding. But neither Trump nor Putin offered specifics.
But we had an extremely productive meeting and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant. But we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there.
Again, no real insight into the specifics of what he was talking about there. The meeting has raised concerns, though, among Ukrainian and European leaders who fear President Trump may not press Putin hard enough on Ukraine. Notably, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was not at the meeting today. Trump says he plans to speak with Zelensky soon.
So many questions out of this. Let's bring in Devin Haskins now. Devin, you talked with an aid worker in Ukraine before this meeting got underway, so I'm really curious to know her take.
Yeah, I talked with Julia Brockdorf. She's the co-founder of the nonprofit called Dawn, which is helping Ukrainians both here and over there. She's in Ukraine right now, just 3 miles, she says, from the front lines, and says the summit must focus on the people living through the war.
We are a local nonprofit.
Julia Brockdorf shared her experience of helping Ukrainians. She's been in the country just over a week now.
Right now, our full focus is to help in multiple ways, both engage in Ukrainian and American community.
She says the reality on the ground
Just now
is unrelenting.
I decided to mark every time there is an explosion that I can hear next to where I am at. If in 2 hours, I marked 92 explosions.
Dawn, which stands for Defend, Aid, Widen, Nurture, is more than a supply line to her. It's a link between communities in Oregon and defenders in Ukraine.
So they see that connection that people of Oregon, people of United States care about the outcomes.
The meeting between Trump and Putin comes more than 3 years after the war in Ukraine started.
It's important, I think, for the president to stay focused on why, on the objective of this meeting and not be swayed by the offers of that Russia may come up with.
She hopes President Trump advocates for the people in Ukraine.
Non-negotiable demand is return of POWs.
She also would like a true ceasefire.
We cannot allow Russia just to give a carte blanche to regroup, to become stronger.
Brockdorf is expected back in Portland next week, she says, and during our 20 minutes of talking earlier today, she said she heard several explosions outside. David?
Yeah, a reminder, whatever happens at the highest levels, you cannot lose sight of the people. Thanks, Devin.
Meanwhile, today, just a week after President Trump called on the CEO of Intel to resign, a Bloomberg report says the administration is talking about taking a stake in the chip maker.
Let's bring in John Adams live at Intel's Hillsborough campus. John, you spoke with a local business alliance. What did they have to say?
Yeah, David and Christine, they told me that if this investment does happen, it's a positive development for both Intel and our region as a whole.
The roller coaster year continues for chipmaker Intel.
After cutting thousands of positions in Oregon last month, the company has spent the last week as a focal point of the Trump administration.
Many tech executives and semi-executives have managed to form relationships with the president.
We spoke with Stacy Raskin, who covers the semiconductor sector for Bernstein Research, after President Trump called for Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan to resign last week.
If I were him, I'd probably be on a plane to Mar-a-Lago.
Tan did meet with the president just a few days later. On Thursday, Bloomberg News reported that the administration is now considering using CHIPS Act funding approved by the Biden administration in 2022 to take a stake in the company, potentially helping to build factories in Ohio. Analyst Gil Luria says domestic chip manufacturing is critical for national security, calling this a necessary move on CNBC Friday morning.
The government's going to come in and it's going to give Intel unfair advantages. And if it's going to do that, it wants a piece of the business.
It would not be the first time the government has done this. 2008 with the banks, during COVID with airlines.
Elizabeth Mazzara Myers, executive director of the Westside Economic Alliance, says this is positive news for our region if Intel ends up getting a cash infusion.
Anything that helps Intel reach its goals of onshoring, reshoring manufacturing, of growing manufacturing around the country is good for our region. You know, even if these dollars go directly to Ohio, the manufacturing there is driven by the R&D that happens here.
Now, the market has been reacting positively to the Intel news this week. The stock price surged 20% in the last 5 days. David, Christine, back to you.
Follow-up, John. John Adams reporting live from Hillsborough for us this evening. Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about the weather now on this overcast Friday evening. A live look from our Wells Fargo sky camera with a lot of folks, I got to tell you, happy about the cooler temperatures as well as the rain on the way.
Yeah, not so bad, right? Celine Stevens in again for Matt Safino this evening. Celine, what's the timing here?
We're looking soon, okay? We have dealing with the gloomy weather all day long. We should be seeing that rain starting to come really any moment now. Other areas have already started to see that rain from a few hours ago, really. But us here in Portland, especially us here at the station, we're still holding on dry, at least for right now. Sitting at 75, we're cooling off a little bit more now. Winds going out of the south at 9 miles per hour. It's been a really breezy day, a gloomy day, and a cooler day compared to what we've been seeing. Taking a look at our radar again, the coast still seeing that rain moving through our area. Parts around Portland, we're seeing some showers earlier today passing through Sandy, heading off to Mount Hood and the Dalles, but again, it's been spotty. It hasn't been the widespread rain yet. That should be coming as we get later on into our evening. Taking a look now at Timberline, as you can see, it is rainy and cloudy there. They've been dealing with that rainfall for the last few hours, as well as the coast, sitting at 52 degrees. Those winds coming out of the west at 9 miles per hour, but gusts getting up to 18 miles per hour. That's also something we're dealing with even here at home and, of course, in the Dalles as well throughout the weekend. But looking at our futurecast really fast, we're looking at 7 p.m. We're seeing the rain pushing through our area, but by midnight, we're going to be seeing that more moderate, heavy rainfall in our area, areas down south in Salem. Looks like it finally pushes away from the coast at that point. But by early morning, it's pretty much done. We're going to be seeing by 5:30 pretty drier conditions. We could see some scattered showers throughout Saturday, but nothing like what we'll be seeing in the overnight hours. So the good news is this hits mainly while everybody is asleep. David?
Yeah, it sounds like rain in, rain out, and a beautiful weekend. Thanks, Celine.
In an update, Multnomah County officials reported a second death that they believe was related to the most recent heat wave.
First responders say they found the body of a 57-year-old woman yesterday in the 97214 zip code that is southeast Portland. That's after they recovered the body of a 59-year-old man Wednesday, also in southeast. The medical examiner's office is still working to officially confirm if those deaths were heat related.
In tonight's other headlines, police have identified the man shot and killed at a North Portland motel. Officers say 41-year-old Philip Redman was found Monday night at the Super Value Inn on North Interstate. The motel manager told us he heard a fight, then saw two people running from the room. When he went to check it out, he found Redman's body and called 911. Police say the people or person responsible took off, and detectives are still working to track them down. Give Portland Police a call if you have any information.
In North Portland, fire crews responded this afternoon to a blaze at a party supply store. Boom Boom Balloons on North Lombard shares a building with other businesses, but firefighters were able to knock it down quickly.
The structure that was on fire, there was potential for fire to spread horizontally across all those other attic spaces, but the first crews made such a quick knock that didn't happen.
No one was hurt and no word yet on the cause.
Well, the notorious bump at mile marker 13 on Highway 26 near Seaside is finally getting a full fix, and the work starts Monday. Slides and underground water formed the bump. You may remember it got a whole lot of attention back in the spring for causing car crashes and damage. ODOT has tried temporary patches, even lowered the speed limit, but this round of work is designed to solve it for good. The work will reduce lanes from 4 to 2, and it'll run from 6 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday. It'll take about a month to complete.
All right, see ya later. Free street parking after 7, at least in some spots in the Rose City.
Jake Holter is live downtown with the details. Jake?
Yeah, Christine and David, as you can imagine, business owners and people we spoke with on the street aren't happy with this change, saying it does more damage to downtown.
Parking downtown is difficult. Well, now it's going to be even more difficult when you have to pay for an extra 3 hours of it.
It's a death knell for downtown Portland.
Local residents and businesses sounding off after the Portland Bureau of Transportation announced they will be extending the paid street parking hours from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
If people realize when they're booking an event here that they all have to pay for parking up till 10 p.m., they'll take their business elsewhere. They'll go to the suburbs where parking's free.
Kel's Irish pub owner Lucy McAleese, speaking with us off camera, says she was blindsided by the move and thinks it's another blow to downtown business.
A lot of businesses are just hanging on by a thread, and something like this just is counter business. It seems counterintuitive. I don't understand.
That's unfortunate. You know, I think if we're trying to get a little bit more foot traffic down here in the downtown area, you know, adding in 3 more hours of time that people have to pay for parking, especially later, is going to disincentivize people.
The hours change comes just weeks after parking fees were hiked, all in an effort to close the department's funding gap. But PBOT spokesperson Dylan Rivera says it's also intended to create more parking availability.
We're starting to see folks circling the block. We're starting to see higher occupancy in those evening times.
When asked, Rivera said he doesn't see cause for concern with the new hours.
We see evidence of folks going where they want to go and not being that sensitive to price.
So this new rule already went into effect on the Central East Side at the beginning of the month. It will go into effect in downtown, Old Town, and the Pearl on September 2nd, and then Northwest will follow on October 1st. Back to you.
Yeah, you can understand why people aren't too happy about paying more. Thank you, Jake.